act two.
Okay, stop whining.
Guys, we're literally a shit show today, but like it's kind of funny.
Yeah, you kind of had a crazy day.
My day wasn't even that crazy, but like I'm gonna warn you guys right now, I'm drunk. And so I enlisted Pam to get wine. And then I just
Cheers.
myself a drink.
Here, cheers.
It's like a splash of vodka, mostly seltzer.
And I have my wine because I love wine.
Your wine, and I only have red wine in the house left over for my friends, which I do not drink red wine, so we are not having that.
Right? No.
Even though this is okay, stop whining. So you would think like
you can drink wine.
So yeah, I'm drunk because I just came from meeting Nick Jonas. He was interesting to say the least. He was cute. Like I'll give him that.
I'm surprised that you said you were saying he wasn't as friendly as you thought that he would have been.
Well, doesn't he like kind of promote himself as like such a sweetheart?
He does. No, he seems like I'd be excited to meet him, and you would think I'm sure he is a nice guy.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a reason. Maybe his wife's like, if you're too friendly with these girls, I'm gonna like.
That's what we were saying. We were like, does he need to be like well behaved? But
like,
he was
maybe.
fine. I'm trying not to like generalize because I know like a lot of the time, sometimes you just have a bad day and like that's fine. But to be honest,
you know what? Wait, sometimes people come off as being rude and they're really a little shy. I know that sounds weird. You're like, okay, he's a performer, no way. But there are performers that are shy. Maybe he has is shy, like has a little social anxiety.
I agree.
You never know.
I agree.
You can't judge somebody until you really know them. Like you just don't know.
But it was nice to meet him, and I met John Barbados too. They were like promoting their tequila company. I got like a giant thing of tequila, which was fun.
Right.
And I took a shot with Nick and had a drink and a shot and a drink. You know me, do that, and I'm gone for not for the count. So I came home. I took a little snooze for like an hour, and I was like, "Girlie, get your ass up and work."
Right.
So now I'm working.
We've been trying to work all day. And actually, I was going to watch The Vow at 9:00.
Yeah.
But we're going to record and I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
I would love to watch The Vow too, but you know.
I'll watch it tomorrow. Larry's going away tomorrow to visit his parents. So I'm going to watch The Vow while he's gone.
Okay.
I love I'm going to have some sushi and watch The Vow. I'm going to be so happy.
Literally, that's what I did last night. Sushi and The Vow. Nothing is better than that. And you have kind of taught me, I swear, the reason why I just vibe with like being alone and watching a movie, I think is because of you. Is that right?
I know. I sound like I'm so like unsocial, but no, there are certain times during the week, everybody needs downtime. It's good for you. You don't need to like be going out every night. And I like it. I like to be alone with my dogs and a movie and good food that I like that Larry doesn't like.
But honestly, I think like something so great that you have promoted is like being alone without being lonely. Like,
right. Oh, I'm not lonely.
Being by yourself and like not everyone can be by themselves and sit in their thoughts and do their own thing, and you always have been able to. And so I think that's why my personality is a little more introverted. Like I love people, but I also like, I mean, my favorite thing to do, and we both are like this, like our favorite thing is like, let's curl up on the couch on a Saturday night, have a glass of wine, order sushi, and like watch a movie.
And watch a movie. I'm so happy.
Nothing is better than that. Nothing brings me more joy.
I know. I don't know why we like that, but we do. Yeah.
But I feel like that's a good thing. Like
we're a little bit of a homebody. Like in that way. Like we like to go out and we like to travel and whatever, but then there's another side of us that's a little bit of a homebody.
Homebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, were you always like that?
No, not when I was young. No.
Really?
I've gotten older. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. You know that.
I think, although there were times that like on the weekends, my friends would want to go out and I had another friend that was like me and we're like, ugh, we don't feel like being social tonight. Like, let's just hang in. So I guess I did that sometimes, but when I was younger, I had that fear of missing out thing, you know.
You got FOMO.
Yeah, I had it. But I of course I don't have it anymore. I'm older. What do I care? What am I missing out on? Nothing.
I'm like the opposite of FOMO, which is an issue. I'm like, I want to miss out.
You've been going out way too long.
I would kind of love to miss out.
Yeah.
But that
But we
might
all
just
do
be
that.
college. It's like you had every opportunity on earth to go out.
Right,
So
right.
it's
You
like
were
it
always
makes you like you don't want to do it all the time.
right, right, exactly. And I always say by your age, I was already married. So I was already in like I'm saying I was in like a different kind of world, you
I
know?
know.
So, but in my day, we all got married younger. So
It's
it's
just
just
wild though that like that was what was taking place. And like I'm just like, I don't even know.
I know, and I look at you as being so young that I don't know. I was a
I
baby.
think of that age and I'm like, you're like 25 and or whatever. And I'm like,
It's
that's
so
so
young.
young.
I like how it is better now that you guys wait and you establish a career. I think it's so much better.
I mean, I feel like there's no other way because it's like if I fell in love and got married and did all these things, it's and then I started having kids, when would there be time for me to like know what I wanted to do with my life, like career
Right.
wise?
Right. Well, this is the best time of your life. So you're doing it exactly the way you should do it.
And people
Um,
are always like, when are you gonna find someone, this and that? And I'm like, honestly, like knowing that the next person that I find could be the person that I spend the rest of my life with makes me even more relaxed and calm and like, you know what? Like I literally could be with the same person for the rest of my life. This is the only time that I have left for the rest of
right.
my life to be just me without
Right.
someone else attached to me.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Like
And
when
you're
you think
very
of
independent.
me, you're gonna
Yeah.
think of me in a pair. Like that's it's in it crazy
Like,
though. Like
Sorry, I
yeah,
know.
but it's crazy and, like, I get that, like, you and daddy have, like, established you both are very much individuals, but
Right.
it is true that, like, once you're in a couple and you're married, like, you are a unit,
You
and
are.
so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm okay with not being that for
Right.
the time
Right.
that I'm not
It's great.
being that.
I think it's great. Yes.
Yeah,
You're getting to get a career going.
yeah.
Smart.
So, we've been having a lot of conversation the last couple weeks about TikTok, about this whole Almond Mom thing that has been going on. I wrote down some notes, but like I feel like most people at this point probably are familiar with the term almond mom and like know what it is. If you think of like
Right.
Yolanda Hadid, I think
Yeah.
she's the person that like
She is. She
started
started.
the almond mom phenomenon
Yes. And do you know why?
because she
Yeah, do you
told
know what?
Gigi
Yeah.
if you're hungry to just like eat half an almond.
No, well, her daughter, I guess she was modeling, and
Uh-huh.
she was not feeling well during a
Uh-huh.
show. If I
Uh-huh.
have this, I read,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she wasn't feeling well during a show, and her mother said that she should just eat some almonds, and that would make her
Or she was
feel
like
better.
she was like literally just bite half an almond and you'll
Just
feel
have an
better.
almond, and you'll feel better. I don't
Right.
know if it was half an almond.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, well, that's where all this stuff started with this Almond Mom. It came from
Mhm.
there. So,
Because
but she didn't wanna talk about it.
no.
She didn't wanna the press, like, reached out to her and they wanted to talk about it, but she didn't wanna talk about it. They didn't wanna make a big deal of it. They didn't think it was such a big deal. But this stuff is really happening. There's
Right.
tons of moms that are Almond Moms.
And it's
Uh
not that it's like just starting to happen now, it's that nobody was talking about it before.
Right, right.
That's
It's
the
been
thing.
good. Right. It's been happening forever.
And your
So
generation of people are the reason that they're like the almond moms is because
mm,
diet culture, like the extreme diet culture of like Weight Watchers, South Beach diet, starving yourself, working out video, like the
right,
workout videos and the workout that
yeah.
all started in your generation. And so,
In my generation and Weight Watchers, I think even before me.
mm,
My mom my mom never went on a diet, but I
mhm,
know that her age group of people, those that wanted to diet, were using Weight Watchers.
yeah.
So it was always something. It's gone
And
on for so many generations.
and as the industry changed, I feel like though you guys got like really impacted by it, like
Oh my god,
the
big time.
that like the diet culture, like it was
Right.
just really rooted in your generation. And so it's like as a your child, you know, sometimes it's like or I used to feel this way, it would make me angry almost, or it would make me, oh, like fuck this stupid generation for fucking us up. But then at the same like which is I know, I get it, but like at the same time, it's like you guys like literally didn't know any better. Like this was what you were raised on. And so it's like, how are you supposed to change the narrative when you don't know any better?
That's right. That's all we knew. When I was younger, it was either, well, everybody talked about diet or how much less, like my girlfriend and I think I've mentioned before on the podcast, maybe we were going to eat for lunch, half a sandwich, and we called them our chewy diet candies. um, and it was like normal, like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people ate like that and did that. So, and we were over exercise. So it's not just the food, it's the over exercising, and the food and all of that together. But I never realized that I was going to bring that into my life when I was raising kids. I never would have thought about it. It never crossed my mind how when you raise kids, how you're supposed to talk to them about food in a healthy
Mhm.
way. Like it wasn't a thing back then.
Mm.
Nobody talked about this.
And how
So,
your behaviors rub off on kids subconsciously. So it's not like parents are purposefully like making their kids have these behaviors, but it's like if you behave in a certain
yes,
way, your child is going to pick
right,
up on that and then repeat that behavior. So
exactly. If I'm
that's where the
going
issue
to
comes.
eat a right, right. No, if I'm gonna eat a salad every day for lunch and that's all you see is me eating salad every day, or you see me eating only a half a sandwich every day, or I'm skipping that and I'm gonna say, I'll just have a handful of nuts
I'll have a
now
granola bar.
for lunch and a granola bar. That's how your mom eats. You don't
Right.
know any different.
Yeah.
So I think it's more with women than with men too.
Oh, 100% it
That
is. Um,
right, and I get
and men definitely, I think the men of that generation too have their own narrative with that stuff. But with
right, they do.
women, I said this before, like with women, I think there's more emotions, or it's more oftentimes emotions are attached to food and
Yes,
exercise, whereas
yes,
men kind of are able to separate it. And I'm not saying this is all the time and for everyone,
right,
but I think
right.
for women more often, like we
Mhm,
attach emotions to food, emotions to
mhm.
exercise, emotions to our body.
Right,
So
absolutely.
it causes, like, more emotional trauma.
Mhm.
Um, but, like, another example of, like, the Almond Mom thing is just, like, a mom being super, like, ultra productive and making their child feel like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, like, a mom starving herself and telling a child to starve herself. Like,
Right,
it
right,
can come in kind of different ways, which is why I think a lot of moms might be in denial that they're like this.
right,
Um
right.
like, for example, I'm trying to think of, like, an example of, like, how it can be kind of hidden. It's like a mom being like, "Oh, I'm gonna have you guys eat your dinner, but I'm gonna have zucchini noodles with mine."
Yes, yes. That's
So
it.
it's
Yeah,
like, yes, they're not telling you to eat the pasta, like, they're not telling you to eat the zucchini noodles, but they're eating it, and therefore, that's telling your child there must be something wrong with the pasta
right,
and that
right.
I shouldn't be eating it.
Exactly. It's the same thing with that cauliflower rice.
Cauliflower
You know,
rice.
instead of rice, I'm gonna have the cauliflower
Right.
rice, or I'm gonna wrap my sushi in brown
Brown
rice,
rice
not white
or
rice.
in
And then again, you're
cucumber.
still yeah, or cucumber, and
But
you're
you
still
go
saying
ahead
this is bad.
you go ahead and have what you want, but I'm gonna
Right,
do this because, oh, this
right,
just makes me feel bloated. This just makes me
right,
feel I'm in my 40s or I'm in my 50s and we can't process this stuff and blah 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 blah.
right,
It doesn't matter like what the excuse
right,
is. It's teaching your child that it's
right.
all the same. It's all the same. It's making your child feel guilty about eating a food that
About
they
what they're
shouldn't feel
eating.
guilty
Yes.
eating.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah.
Um
And
even another thing I think of, and you do this sometimes, and it doesn't, like, bother me that much, but it bothers me occasionally, and then I'm curious to hear, like, what things have bothered you about your own, like, family and in the past, or things you've noticed about yourself. But when you'll be like, "Oh, like, I used to get mad at you because you used to be like, "Oh, this is the workout I did today, and then I ate this, this, and this." And it's like, that's almond mom behavior, and even though you don't
right,
like, you're not intentionally trying to make me feel
right,
bad about what
right,
but it
right, right.
that's how it comes off. It's
It
like,
does.
I did 8 miles on the bike this stationary bike this morning, I did 20 minutes of arms, and then I had a rice cake with an egg for breakfast, and then I had a salad for lunch, and then I had this for dinner, and it's like, just that talk and that narrative will set a
Right.
person off.
Right. I totally get it.
Mm,
Because even as an adult, being around other adults that do stuff like that, it annoys me.
mm,
So, and then I do it myself,
right.
but when you hear other people do it, it's like, "Oh my god, that's just so, like, it's so wrong." I've learned a lot from you with
Mhm.
about disordered eating and all that stuff that I didn't really understand before, so I think because I understand so much now, I'm so much more aware of how other people are talking or how their relationship with food is. I'm very much aware now.
Mhm.
So, um, but I mean, occasionally, I'm a human being. Maybe I will do stuff like that. But no, I notice it in other people that I'm with.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. It's even makes me feel bad sometimes when I go out to eat and you're with other women and they all have issues somewhat about eating, and then it makes me feel bad like what I'm choosing. I still feel like that and I shouldn't, but I still feel like that sometimes that maybe I'm choosing the wrong thing. When you go out to dinner and you open the menu, it's like, so what are you eating and what are you eating? So still in my age group, there's definitely this change that needs to be made, and I am hoping to try to make a change with your generation. I think it's really difficult to change people in my generation because they still don't get it. They don't understand. And it's going to take your generation to help us
Yeah.
understand what's going on.
There's also so many aspects to it. It's like the aspect first of like how these moms are affecting their children, and then it's the aspect of like how do these moms change for themselves too, like because what a lot of your friends or like people that you're surrounded by express, I
Yeah.
would categorize and most people would categorize as disordered eating.
Mhm.
Fearing certain food groups, fearing
Mhm.
calories,
Yeah.
not
Yes.
eating the entire day to save up for one meal.
Right.
Um,
That
these are
meal.
all
Yeah.
symptoms of disordered eating. And
Right. Unfortunately,
so
yeah. Yeah.
but
It's
something about you, which is really interesting, is like you used to have, I think, a little bit more symptoms of disordered eating. And now you really, I see less and less and less and less. And I'm just curious if like what made you like less afraid or like I don't know, like how are people going to change? Like are people going to change? Are people Do you think there's a way to get people your age to like realize that like the carbs are not going to kill you and you can have them and it's not going to make you fat because that's your age
yeah.
people are so fat
We
phobic and they're so afraid of gaining weight.
so
Yeah.
fascinating.
So it's
Mhm.
like do you
I
think that it's even
it
possible?
No, I do, and it's conversations like this and
Mm,
conversations with our children, especially if we have daughters, because I think the men and sons are less affected. So it's conversations like this that are going to help. And people like I was trying to explain to a couple people recently, I was talking about an almond mom. They're like, "What's that?" Or they're like, "I'm not an almond mom," and I'm like, "But you are." They still don't get it, So
yeah.
it's talk, it's educating people.
Yeah.
And my age group, our kids are older. So, but I'm hoping that it's when you guys become moms, that you guys break the cycle.
Yeah.
So it's with your age group that I'm hoping is where the change happens. And that doesn't mean that in my age group that change can't happen. It can if you're willing to do it, if you're
Right.
willing
That's
to
the
make
thing.
it
Like
work.
I feel like you were like even like if you're a daughter listening to this, I feel like in the beginning when I would talk about things, you would be really shut off and closed-minded and you weren't willing to like listen. And then the more I don't know how it happened. I feel like it was just over time like talking about it over and over and
It's
over again and like re-explaining things and sending
yes,
you videos and like sending you articles like I feel like it's been years of me just like since high school of me sending you articles about body positivity or body neutrality and health at every
right,
size and how just because you're fat doesn't mean you're unhealthy or um,
right,
just because you're fat doesn't mean you're not worthy or
right.
like
I love it. I
yeah.
love it because I wasn't raised what these articles that I was sending you and reading articles a lot about the Almond Mom. When I
Mm,
grew up, you were smart and you were beautiful and you were healthy and
mhm.
everything revolved around because you're thin.
Right.
you know? And that's the generation that I grew up in. That's what
Mhm.
was being put out to everybody. And think about the magazines that I was looking at. Glamour, Vogue, all those magazines. That's what we saw. It was
Yeah.
like thin was beauty.
Mhm.
And I am being educated because as I am getting older, I'm realizing everybody is beautiful in their own way. And everybody's beautiful. We all come in different shapes and sizes. And we're all beautiful people. And it doesn't mean that we're all smart people, no matter what you
Mhm.
look like.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of educating me, a lot of reading and understanding, you know, I think that not only me, but there's a lot of like people we were closed-minded because that's what we knew. That's what was being fed to us,
Right.
you know. So
It's
I think
interesting,
that's
like, I don't know, I just feel like when you push when you push those conversations and you just push it, it's like people think that they have one conversation and then the narrative changes, and that's just like not the case. It's
yeah,
like what you
yeah,
said, it's like years of us like discussing this and sending articles and like talking about it, and like
right,
that's when the changes started to take place and your mind became more open. And I think it's especially
right,
helpful when you have open-minded parents, cuz like with you and daddy, like you guys are open-minded people and you're about the younger generation and you're about the future,
right,
and when it
absolutely,
comes to like politics and things like that, and it all ties together. Like
right,
when it comes to politics, you guys are all about the younger generation, and um
right,
like,
right,
you know what I mean? So I feel like it definitely helps that you guys were like that. um
right.
but
I know that not everybody is as open and willing
yeah,
to understand these things, and there's people that are older that have disordered eating, and they're not gonna change
right,
because they can't for whatever reason, and it's sad,
yeah.
and I think that there's certain people that are just always gonna be like that way,
But I'm
but
wondering, like, even if they're not willing to change, can they respect differences and honor the fact that their child or their grandchild is affected by the things that they're saying, so that they can change? Like, even if it's hard, because even when I think of like my grandparents, it's like, in one
Mhm.
sense, I get that they're not gonna understand, like, they might not believe that you can be healthy at every size. They might not be on that
Right,
bandwagon, they
right,
might not believe it. But I'm
right,
like, can I just get them to agree that their words have an impact on me and affect others, and if they change their words or
right,
change the narrative, then I could be a happier person and have an easier time around them.
right, right, and our whole world will be like that if everybody could change their attitude toward
Right.
others.
But I
That
think, yeah, it starts with those conversations, and I'm just thinking of, like, for any of my followers or our followers of the podcast that are listening to this and they're struggling with an almond mom or even a dad that's, like, super obsessed with working out or eating,
Yeah,
like, how they can just
yeah.
introduce the topic without making them feel like they're being attacked.
Right, right. Because I think when I was first introduced to it, at first I felt like that. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, she's telling me I'm causing her all these problems."
Mhm.
And then it
It's hard to
literally
hear.
took me years of thinking about it. It didn't click right away. I didn't get it. I still was like, "Oh, she's wrong. I'm right. I'm not doing anything wrong."
Yeah.
And then it literally took me years, and you really have opened my eyes, and I've said it again because I see it I see it all around me all the time.
Mhm.
So, it's a fact. It is happening in our world,
Yeah.
and it's happening with my generation. So, there's no denying it. So, if
Yeah.
you're a kid and it's happening in your house, have that conversation. You have to, but
Yeah.
come at it in a way, like, really think through how you're going to have that conversation and sit
And that's
down with your
hard.
parents.
Especially if you're a
And
young person, if
it
you're 12 or 11 or
it's
10,
really
or like, that is like a mature ass conversation to have, and it's like,
right.
I'm curious, do you remember if there was a certain point where you felt the switch, or was it just very gradual over time? Like, was there anything
I
specific
think
that
it's
made you
definitely
like, "Oh my god, okay, this is an issue?"
Where I've become really on board is when you've become extremely open about your body positivity, and I am 120,000,000% on board with
Mhm.
everybody in this world. I'm on board. I don't wanna hear, "You look great because 'cause you're thin," or, "You don't look great because 'cause you're not that way." Like, I don't wanna hear it. Like,
Mhm.
I am so on board with you,
Yeah.
and I love it. Like, things need to change in our world.
I also wanna
So,
talk about, when a child comes to their mom and they're saying, "I gained weight, I feel bad about myself, I wanna go on a diet, I need you to help me," like, how to attack those issues because I know that, like, in the past, even with us, like, you didn't know how to deal with it because
yeah,
why would you? You were a first-time mom,
I
you
had
never dealt
no
with this before,
idea.
and you came from diet
I had
culture, and
no
now
idea.
but it's so, like it's such a beautiful thing because you learned from me and now you're able to if Chloe comes to you and says, "I'm feeling insecure today. I'm feeling like I gained weight. I'm feeling this and that." You're able to, like, guide her in the right way. Um, so, like,
Absolutely. I
I
was so I yeah, I just wanna say, I came at it 100% wrong.
mm,
Nobody trains when you're a mom, nobody trains you with how to talk to your kids, and especially when it comes to eating and disordered eating and the body and all that. Nobody trains us what to say. We don't know what to say.
yeah.
So, I've learned so much from you, and I actually recently had somebody approach me and ask how they should talk to their child that was having a problem, and she kept coming back at me, "Well, what if my child says this? And what if my child says this?" And I know how to attack it now, but
Mm.
people don't know. Very intelligent people, but we just don't know.
That's a thing because people don't realize that, like, what you're saying could like, a child, when they come to you or a teen or an adult, when they come to you and they say, I gained weight, I feel fat, or I feel bad about myself. And like, what do I do? Some parents will be like, their immediate mindset, which is it's not their fault, is like, okay, what can we do to fix the problem? But
Right.
instead of fixing the physical problem, the real issue lies in the fact that
Mm,
they're saying that because they gained weight, that's bad and that they have an issue
mm,
with their body. And like the reality is, like,
right,
when you go from high school to college, you're gonna gain weight. Like, you are going from your high school body, which is like you weren't going out and
right,
drinking, you were a younger person, you were below 18, and then you go to college and you're like, you're drinking all the time, you're learning more food freedom where your parents aren't telling you what and when to eat. And you're just like growing into an adult body. Hell yeah, your body is gonna change, you're gonna gain weight. So instead of a parent being like, let's put you on a diet. Let's take you to a nutritionist. Let's do this. Let's do that. You need to work out more. It's like, instead, you need to be like, you know what? You are beautiful no matter what. 5 pounds heavier, 10 pounds heavier. You're still just as worthy. You're still just as good of a
right,
person,
right,
just as beautiful. That's the words
right,
that I want moms to say to their daughters.
right,
Like,
right.
that's the change that needs to be made. It's like how moms are reacting to their
Mm,
children complaining.
right, right. Because when you tell your kid, "Oh, yeah, you're right. You need to go on a diet and you do need to exercise more," how are they supposed to feel? They're gonna
Right.
walk away like, "Oh my god, there's something really wrong with me." Like,
Even,
like, they're damaged goods, they feel
yes.
bad, and if you approach it, which I've learned from you because I am guilty myself, if you approach it in the way, and I was just trying to explain that to this person that asked me recently, you are beautiful. Like, you're so smart and you're so beautiful. If you come
Mhm.
at them in a positive way, things will work itself out. Like, just
Yeah.
let them be. Just let them know that they're perfect the way they are.
I
Yeah.
remember when I was in high school, like, coming to you, even middle school, coming to you with these
Mhm,
issues, and
mhm.
you being like, "Okay, like, here's what we can change," and, like, literally, like, there is nothing wrong with that because that is what you
Right,
thought was right to do, because
right,
back
right.
then,
I had no
the society was fat phobic. Society was like, "What can we do to prevent people from being fat?" Basically, that's what
right,
society was like.
right,
Now
r
we realize,
right,
okay, being fat does not necessarily mean health issues. Being fat does not
Right.
necessarily mean
Okay.
something negative. People can
Right.
live in larger bodies and still have a healthy and happy and fit lifestyle. Um,
Right. Right.
but back then we didn't know that, or you guys didn't know that. So when I
Right.
came to you when I was in middle school and I said, I'm getting curves, I'm getting a butt, you said, here's what we can do to be
Mhm.
healthier. Here's what we can do to minimize the damage, basically.
Right. Right. You
When
need
I
to
was
eat
in
this or that. Yeah.
Right. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I started learning about bad foods and good foods. And I'm sure a
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
people can relate to this same thing where it's like their
Mhm.
moms were just trying to help them. So they were like, okay, well, this is bad. You shouldn't eat this. And this is good.
Mhm.
You should eat this. Um,
Mhm.
and then in high school, I remember wanting to go on diets and you being like, okay, I'll pay for your South Beach diet. And I'm not saying this to like call you out on it. I'm just saying like
Right. Right.
that was the
No, it's
reality.
right. Right.
You didn't
'Cause
know
if
better.
right. We didn't no. No.
And
That's what I'm saying.
it was like, "Mom, I lost 2 pounds," and it was like, "High five." And it's like, "But you were
Right.
never overweight." And so
Mhm.
why is this a celebration, and why do you think you need to lose weight? Um,
Mhm.
by so by a mom celebrating a daughter losing 2 pounds, you can only imagine if a
Mhm.
daughter gains 2 pounds, how they'll feel if their mom finds out that they gained weight.
Exactly.
Um,
Right.
which is what starts that, like, underlying, like, hiding competitive thing. Because like, I used to, like,
Mhm.
hide things from you or, like, feel
Mhm.
competitive or feel like what you would
Right.
say would hurt my feelings, and it's because of those things. It's
Right.
because you automatically start to
Right.
think, "She thinks I'm fat. She thinks I'm this. She thinks I'm that."
Mhm. Mhm. Right. And how
Um,
many girls out there do you think feel the same way? A
I think
lot.
I think
So
most do. Um,
most do.
which is why I'm like, I wish that my one wish for this episode is that, like, every daughter just says, like, "Mom, like, please, let's just, like, sit down and listen to this podcast episode, and, like, you don't need to say anything until after it's done, but, like, let's just listen and, like, think about how you might be, like, affected by just, like, these societal things that have gone on." Um,
Right.
that's just my hope because it's like, again, coming from you who was someone who was closed-minded and, like, how dare you attack me and how dare you say that I'm that,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
you know the damage that it can do.
Right. I've had a total change. But you're very you're very out there talking
Mhm.
about it. You're okay talking about it, although you weren't always this open,
Yeah.
but that's amazing that you're able to do that, and obviously a lot of people aren't. So, by listening to this episode, I too hope that it's helpful for kids that don't know how to start the conversation.
Mm.
Just, "Mom, listen to this." Or actually, I was telling, somebody today who never heard of the term "Almond Mom," I was like, "Go on TikTok." Like, it's all over TikTok. So, not just you at your age talking about it, there's a lot of other people talking about it. There's a girl who everybody can look up who's on TikTok. Her name is Tyler Bender. She's a fantastic TikTok and does talks about this Almond Mom thing.
Phenomenon,
Obviously,
yeah.
her mom must be okay with it. And you should also look into what she's saying and look at her TikTok. She's making it funny, which
Right.
I think is great. Like Carly is able to talk about it, and Carly has a sense of humor,
Mhm.
and you have an easy time talking about it. And I think Tyler does a great job with talking about this issue.
Yeah. No, I think it's like and it's also when you don't talk about things, they seem heavier, and then once you get them out, they seem a lot lighter
Mhm,
and easier to talk about. Like, when I didn't talk to
mhm,
you about my body image issues when I was younger, it felt so heavy and so big, and then once I said it, it felt a tiny bit smaller, tiny weight off my shoulders, and then over the years as I talked about it more and more and more, it's
mhm.
become to the point where it doesn't feel heavy at all. It just feels like something that we
Right,
just openly go back and forth about, which is
right,
like such a great feeling to know that, like, if I'm having a bad body image day, I can go to you and, like, you know what to say,
right,
like, you know the response. Um
right, right.
and the
And
other thing is we can still practice healthy habits together. Like I love that
Mhm.
we love to work out together and we love to make healthy recipes together. But then there's the
Mhm.
balance of like if we're too tired to work out, there's no judgment and we don't feel judgment. Or if you're
Exactly.
gonna work out and I'm not, I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm so pressured. I have to work out because my mom is working out. Like that's something I think a
Right.
lot of people really struggle with. But it's
Right.
like, do you think it was those conversations that changed that for us? I mean, like, I know for me, it was like obviously,
No, definitely the conversation has helped, and it's also at times, I still struggle when I'm out with friends that are still
mhm,
have this disordered thinking.
mhm,
But for the most part, I'm able to block it out. And even around there's other times when like you're going away with people and they have certain eating habits or working out habits that also was getting to be a bit too much. I'm able to just completely separate myself and
yeah,
do what I know is best for me.
yeah.
So, and it's healthy for my body and my mind.
Like, how did
So
you get to
I've
that point?
it's taken me a while.
How did you get to
Um,
that point of knowing that someone really close to you might be like working out 6 days a week and you might not be? And like, how are you okay with that? Like, how'd you get to that point?
You. I kid you not.
Really?
No, I really am not even kidding. Um, you've gotten me to that point. Have made me feel secure enough in myself that I'm okay and I'm doing things that are right.
Mhm.
So, I just know now that I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And you've gotten me on the right track.
Oh, thanks.
Because if I didn't have a child like you, I literally probably still would be heading in the wrong direction.
Stop it.
Really.
But I
You've made
feel
a big change in my life.
aw, that's really nice.
Yeah, you have.
But I feel
You
that's
have,
I
and
feel the same where it's just like it just clicks one day where it's like you go this whole time with people feeling like if you're not like eating a healthy snack like them, then you're lesser. Like you're morally not
Mhm.
as good
Yeah,
as them. If you don't work
yeah,
out as many times, then you're morally not as good. And then all
right.
of a sudden, like you get to this point where you realize that literally it doesn't fucking matter, and
It
that,
doesn't
like,
matter.
those are their thoughts living in their brain, so they are
Exactly
so
what I always
it's like that's so not like whatever, but this is what I go through. That is so sad
yeah,
that they feel like they need to bust their ass 24/7, like,
yeah,
and go hard, and it's like they get so disappointed and feel this guilt if they don't, and it's like, I'm just over here
yes.
chilling, living my life,
Chilling, exactly.
enjoying my
I've got
workouts, enjoying my food, but having a balance, like,
exactly,
it's, like, the most beautiful
exactly.
thing you could ever have.
I'm enjoying my life better because of my change in attitude.
Yeah,
I don't think about it like that. It's just like I don't know. I
yeah,
just my way of thinking about eating and working out and has completely changed.
and
So,
it's the
and
value that we place on our bodies, like, I think that is a big thing that moms and just people of that generation need to realize, it's like, you guys, I
right,
think, you were taught to place a lot of value in
right,
what you look
right.
like.
Got that. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you were in
it's
that, like, stay-at-home mom generation, like, you weren't fully in the
yeah.
workforce generation yet.
Mhm,
Now
mhm,
I'm like, "Okay, we are powerful, strong, like, intelligent people. We can make changes in this world. We have an impact
mhm,
on people, and so why does it fucking matter what my body looks like? Because
mhm.
I'm d like, m if I'm making the world a better place, why does it matter what my body looks like?"
It doesn't. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. But what I was saying before was, again, we were so our minds were just focused on beauty being thin, and
Mm,
it was fed to us all the time. Like again, and I blame it kind of on like on the models and the magazines and everything back then. That's all we saw. Think about how far we've come. Think about all the clothing companies now that everybody there's women of all different sizes and heights too.
Mhm.
I'm petite. It wasn't even, you couldn't be a model or anything if you were petite. So it's not even just in a thin way or a fat way
Yeah.
or however you want to say it. It's women, things have been changing and evolving, I think, in the last few years, like in an amazing way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like before you were, like, tiny, it even wasn't looked upon as being such a great thing as if you were tall and lean,
Mm.
But I look at
Mhm.
myself now, I even love my petiteness. I'm embracing it in a different way than I ever have. I
I'm
love
like,
it. I
I
love my
love being
petiteness.
short. I would not
I
want
love
it
it.
any other way. I love being 5 feet tall.
Even though it's short, it's just petite.
But that's the thing too, it's like, why do you associate bad with short, and that's why you don't like
I
using the word
do.
short. So it's like,
I do.
stop associating bad with the word short. Like, I'm short
Yeah,
and I love it. Like, tall
yeah.
people don't be like, "Oh my god, tall is a bad word." Like, it's like,
Right,
I'm short.
right.
I love being short. That's okay. That's great.
Right. But I'm just saying, I think our world is changing and we are becoming more accepting of different bodies. We have a long way to go, but
Mhm.
look how much better we're doing now than
Yeah.
we were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, really, think of all the clothing brands that you know, that you
Mhm.
can open a magazine and not everybody in that magazine looks the exact same. And I'm talking about from everything,
And I think there's
from being
still a long way to go when it comes to that stuff, but it's definitely gotten better and it's helping the cause
gotten better.
to move. Also,
So
a
that's
girl I
yeah,
know, I want to talk about something really quick.
okay.
Because there are still problems going on in our society.
Uh-huh.
Why am I drunk?
Mhm. I don't know.
There are problems still in our society
Mm.
with people treating fat people with like less standards than a thin
Yes, I
person.
it's
And
disgusting.
I have a couple
Yes.
influencer friends. I've met one of
Uh-huh.
them in person, the other one I haven't, but I consider them both
Mhm,
friends. We follow each other on social
mhm,
media, and
mhm.
they were at a club in LA called the
Uh-huh.
Highlight Room. They were waiting outside. I don't know if you saw this, but it's been all over the news.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
all their friends got in. Their one
Mhm.
is
Oh, yes.
they both are plus sized,
Right.
and they both were told by a plus sized bouncer that they could
Uh-huh.
not come in after letting all of their friends in who are not plus sized. So
Okay, right.
there is
Disgusting.
still
Yeah.
major, major, major discrimination from
Mhm.
these clubs and from places in
Mhm.
general towards
Mhm.
women. And
Right.
it's crazy because it's like this male bouncer who was plus sized
Mhm.
was letting it
Mhm.
slide and was actually like the cause of a lot of these issues.
Right, right,
And so
right.
they've been traveling around, they've been on a bunch of different news outlets talking about their
Uh-huh.
experience and how this affected them. Because
Right,
imagine
right. Really
how fucking horrible that is to go to a club, you're trying to have a fun night with your friends,
mhm,
and they're like, "You can't come
mhm,
in."
mhm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
it's because
No.
you are not the ideal vision of beauty that they are looking for to come into that club.
Right, right. That hurts to the core. Like,
And
that real like, I feel sad.
like, I can't even
It's horrible.
imagine through
But
that.
honestly, who the hell is he to
Exactly.
decide? And it was
Exactly.
that one person. Who is he to decide what beauty is?
So,
Who is he? It's like, that's disgusting. It's
but
so disgusting.
I think and what one of the girls I was talking today about myths
Mhm,
in like the industry of like body positivity
mhm,
influencers,
mhm,
and she commented something. I'm going to read it. My friend Lexi, she's one of the girls that was
mhm,
like not let into this club. She said,
mhm,
"One thing that's helped me is I've realized a lot of the times I'm talking badly about my body, it's rooted in misogyny and the male gaze, standards that men have
mhm,
set for us and make us attractive or desirable. Once I realize that's where my negative self-talk is coming from, it
mhm,
helps me disarm it." So it's very true. It's like these clubs, this man did not let them in because it is it's
mhm.
so misogynistic. It is completely based off like the male vision of beauty and like what
Mhm.
that is.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of moms and women, it's also related. It's like moms and women are afraid for their husbands to see them gain 5 pounds, or
Right.
they
Right.
they they
Right.
are that way because
Right. Right.
of society and
Exactly.
because society is freaking sexist.
Right, right. The men, they're seeing it at home.
Mhm.
They don't know any other way. But
Mhm.
that's why I'm saying it's your society has to make this change
Mhm.
because it's my society can change as
Yeah.
much as we try to,
Mhm.
but your society, your age group
Yeah.
is going to make the big changes for us. And it's people
Yeah.
like you, Carly, and other people that are
Okay, hype
doing
me
what you're
up.
doing. Well, it is because the change isn't gonna be made without people like you that are willing to speak up about it and who are sick of it.
But you know what?
And
I
and I
feel
see
like what were you
well,
gonna
I just wanna say I see other girls on TikTok that are following, I don't in your
say?
footsteps
Mhm.
because 'cause they're also coming out and they're talking about body positivity and they're trying to make a change. So
Mhm.
there's other people on board, which is great because 'cause you're not out there alone trying to do this, but
Yeah.
we need even more voices like you, and we need more voices in my generation of
Yes.
people that are willing to talk and say that we're wrong and that we are that almond mom. We need to talk about it.
That's what I was just gonna say,
And you need
actually. I was gonna say it like the most powerful thing I've seen in like a very fucking long time, especially in
Mhm.
this scenario, is the fact that you are willing to stand up and say, I'm in this generation and this is a problem and we are all participating in this issue and like we need to change the narrative. Like you don't understand like how powerful that
Mhm.
is because it's like
Oh, well,
you can't change. We can't change unless there's people like you to tell your generation, don't get defensive. This is a real thing. This is what's
right,
happening.
right,
And it's okay. We're not
right.
bad people. We just were raised off of this and this
Right,
is all we know.
exactly, and that's what I was trying to explain. I was talking to somebody today, and they're like, "I'm not an almond mom," and I'm like, "But you are."
Right.
And
And
we are
it's the
like, just
defensiveness.
but you don't understand. Yeah, I'm like, "You don't really understand what it is then." And it's
Mhm.
okay, because
Yeah.
again, we don't know any different. That was our generation.
Right.
But I really do hope that when I hope that people listen to this podcast, and I hope that moms my age are willing to admit their what's going on and just educate themselves. You don't have to say, "Oh my god, I'm at fault. I did a terrible thing." Just get
Yeah.
educated on how to make a change.
And I
That's
think that's the
all.
thing too,
It's
like,
just
you can reinforce this. It does not make you a bad mom. It does not make you a bad parent that you went through these things and that it might have rubbed off on your child.
right.
You and daddy, and, like, I say this all the time, but I'm like, "You guys gave me, like, the best childhood." Like, I look at
Mhm.
so many other people and I'm like, "I am so blessed and so lucky." And so many people come out of their childhood really fucked up, and I'm like, I am, like, good. Like, I have a great relationship with my parents, like, I'm so close with you both, like, that is telling. But I think, like, a lot of people don't relate to that or feel that way, or they think that if their mom, like, I think moms think that if they, like, had these narratives that would fuck up their kid, but it's like,
Yeah.
no, you
Yeah.
can still be an amazing, incredible parent, but, like, you're not gonna do
Right.
everything 100% right.
Right, right. It's true. We just it's yeah. We just don't know. It's all about being educated,
Right.
period.
And it's like
So,
you might have missed
well,
the mark or whatever on that, but it's like it's how you're willing to recover from it and how you're willing to, like, learn from it. And
right,
I feel like you and
right.
daddy
You
were
have to be
both very open with like, just
right,
hearing what I had to say.
right. Oh, I was always open, but you're my daughter and I love you. So it's like,
Yeah.
how could you not be open and willing to hear what your child has to say? Like that I don't understand. So,
That's a
and
point
if
that I
you're
think
not,
is gonna
then
help people.
you still have disordered mind if you're not willing to be open and listen.
That's
So,
no, that's a really good point that I
and
think is gonna help a lot of people. It's like, even if you, like, aren't doing it for yourself and you don't wanna change for yourself, it's like, how much do you love your child? Do you love your child enough to realize that you might be affecting them in a negative way and that you might need to change?
right. And what a great thing if somebody still is living at home and they are 13 years old or 12 years
Mhm.
old or they're in high school and your mom hears this and then you are making a change early on. How great is that? Like I wish
Yeah.
I would have known all this back in my day. So in a way, moms in this generation that have the younger kids are lucky that the conversation's opening up
Mhm.
so that those moms can make the change. I just think it's harder for the moms that were in my time where our kids are in their 20s. I think it's for some of those parents, it's going to be difficult. 20s
Yeah.
and 30s, it's going to be
Um,
more difficult.
I know with me, like, when I have a problem, I go to you first, and then I kind of have you tell daddy. That's kind of like our
Right.
system. Um,
Mhm.
how like how did you explain? I mean, this is really just for people that are closer with their moms and are dealing with this, or even
Mhm.
if you're closer with your dad, honestly. But like, how did and they need to explain to the opposite parent, like, how did you go about explaining this to daddy, and like, how did you make him be able to like make sense of it? Because like that was your job. Like you did that. Like I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it took a while. It took a lot of talking. First of all, I don't know if you remember. I mean, it took the three of us I remember sitting in a room and talking together over
Mhm,
things.
mhm,
Sometimes it took, I'm going to talk to daddy first,
yeah,
and then you have a conversation with him too.
mhm,
So he's also that kind of man that's very open
mhm.
and he wants to learn about things. He's curious. He likes to learn.
And yet
And
he's
he didn't
very fitness minded and stubborn.
He is, and at the very, very beginning, though, he didn't understand.
Mm,
It's taken him time. He did not get it. He was still like, "Well, you need to work out, and you gotta eat healthy, and you gotta clear your mind, and blah, blah, blah." So, it's just taken it's taken a long time to
mhm,
educate him. And, I mean, there were times, like, I don't know, that that he was in that man world of also kind of grew up in that world of being a little more negative towards women of different
mhm.
sizes,
Yeah,
and I hate to even say that about him, but,
it's true.
but that was just again, it's all generational, and I think I've had to educate him too on that. I'm like, "You gotta cut the talk of anything negative towards anybody's bodies."
Mhm,
It's gotta stop.
mhm.
So, and I think he's definitely learned from you, from me, but there's a lot of men that they need to be educated
Yeah,
on it that don't understand. So, they don't understand the emotional impact that women are having.
right.
That's what I think. I think some men, they don't understand or they don't care. But we all came from a mother, so we should all be sensitive, and men should be sensitive to women's emotions and
Mhm.
needs.
The last thing I wanna do before we peace out is talk about solutions, like, how we kind of like, the solutions that we've had going through this and the solutions that other people can have and, like, how they can work through this.
Mhm.
Obviously, like, if there's one takeaway, it's, like, communication,
Mhm.
and, like,
Mhm.
talking about these things and, like, sitting your parents down in a non-judgmental and non-critical way, um being like, "This is affecting me," and, like, I'm not saying you're, like, a bad person because of this, but, like, I'm having an issue with this and this is what I need. Um
Right. I'm even thinking that if you're the type of person that has a really hard time talking about it, that you can do research on all these issues and you can print things off.
mm,
You can even write a letter to your
mm,
parents. I know that sounds a little old
no,
fashioned, but sometimes it's a good way to get it out. Just write all your thoughts down. I feel like it's almost better to write all your thoughts down so you don't miss anything during the conversation. And if
love
you
that.
aren't ready to talk about it, just say, "Could you please read this?" And then we'll talk about it
Yeah.
after. And then also, even after you're writing that, bring facts. Like go online and research things about all of the things that we've been talking about. So with body positivity and Almond Mom, and bring the facts with
Yeah.
you so that you have stuff to back you up.
Yeah, like bring the statistics about like the percentage of teens that fall into an eating disorder from going on a diet for the first time. Um
Right.
things like that. That's so freaking
Right.
true.
And facts about where all this started and where it came from.
Mm,
So that it's not just so that your parents doesn't think you're just coming after them,
right.
that it's a fact that it's happening in our world.
Yeah.
So just if you come with information, um, it'll be better. It'll be a better conversation.
And I think after that, when it comes to like maintenance of these issues, I know with us, like after we talked about it a bunch of times, it was also a matter of like when you said something that bothered me, I would call it out immediately. And
Yeah.
a
But
lot of the
yeah.
time for the first few years, you were very
Uh-huh.
frustrated with me and you would
Yeah.
you would get
You
a
get
little
defensive.
upset and
Yeah,
get
you get
defensive over
defensive.
it. But I would continue to push and to say those
Mhm,
things because
mhm.
eventually, like, something happened where there was a change. And, like,
Right,
I don't know
right.
if it was just because like, we continued those conversations, like, I continued sending those articles and whatever, but it was
Right.
like there became a time where eventually it was like, "Oh, I'm going to work out and I'm doing this," and I'd be like, "Mom, this is, like you're being annoying, like, you're bothering me." And it would be like
Mhm,
you would just be like, "Sorry, sorry, sorry," like or, like, whatever, like, whatever. Like, to the point where
right.
it was a non-thing. It was just like, "I'm telling you this is bothering me," and you're gonna, like, click in your brain and remember, maybe that's not the best thing that I said.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
And
the ki it's yeah, it might not hit home that first time, but you gotta start the conversation somewhere.
yeah,
But you're saying, don't expect everything to change overnight. It's not going to,
right.
because there's a lot of educating to do. There's a lot we need to understand. And again, your parent might get a little defensive at
Mhm.
first, but keep feeding them with the information. Don't stop.
Yeah,
Don't ever stop.
yeah.
So,
And at the end of the day, like, your parents love you unconditionally, and so, like, you're if that, like, put a, like, damper or, like, a wedge in your relationship, like, that's on them. Like, they should be
mhm,
able to know that they love you so much that their mind can open to changing their
mhm,
ways. Like,
mhm.
if it doesn't,
Right.
that's, like, a bigger problem. That's, like, why aren't they willing to and that might mean that they have a more severe problem, to be honest.
Right, exactly. And at that point, then I would start thinking about going to counseling with
Yes,
that parent.
yes.
But with somebody you need to research that understands,
Yeah.
this topic that we're talking about.
Mhm,
So, I think that most therapists do these days,
mhm.
but yeah,
Yeah,
that
there's
would
there's
definitely help.
gonna be those moms out there, like, don't think that there's not, like, there will be moms that
Mhm.
get defensive to the point where, like, they might not be open to, like, changing,
Right,
and
right.
that's where you're like, "Okay, I need to go to therapy, and I need to, like, figure out what the solution is, like, can I talk to them about these certain things, or do I need another person to talk to? Do I need an aunt?
Mhm,
Do I need a best friend?
mhm.
Like, can I go to them for these things?
Right,
Do I need to give myself distance from them because their words
right,
are hurting me so bad and they're not willing to change?" That's
right,
another thing.
right.
It's like, you know, I've learned this lately. Love is not unconditional. It
Mhm,
is, but it's not. It's like if someone is toxic and
mhm,
they're affecting your life in a negative way, then you have every right to like step away and protect your peace.
mhm. Right,
So
right. I
yeah, if you need to separate relationships a little bit and not be as close with a person because they're really affecting
Mhm,
you, that's
mhm.
okay too.
Right, right. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
I agree.
in your generation, that's also a not common belief.
To separate yourself
Yeah.
from something?
Like for
Yeah.
us, it's like if a person is toxic,
Mhm,
you're allowed to not be part of their life. And that is healthy
mhm.
for you because you're protecting your peace
Yeah,
and your sanity. But I think in your
Right.
generation, it's more like you're willing to put up with things and let things
Or
go.
like, "Oh, we feel bad."
Yeah. Mhm.
I've learned to get rid of some toxic stuff that
But
I've
it's
learned to
like,
do it.
you
It's hard
shouldn't
sometimes.
have to deal with that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
okay. This is a long episode, but I am gonna go through and see if there's any questions from the audience. This is a good question that I want to ask you. Do moms ever feel some type of shame when their daughters gain weight? I struggled with this, and I struggled with this as well. Like, if I gained weight, do you feel shame?
At this point in my life,
But back
no, I
then,
don't.
but back then.
Yes, I think that all moms do. Yes. That's what we were talking about, and I read this article that I sent to you,
Mm.
um, that was talking about that back in our day, to have a child that was, like, thin made moms wanted our children thin because it also meant that they were smart and our child was doing everything right, which
Mm,
reflected that the mom was doing everything right. So,
wow.
that's a fact. That's just a fact.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
And reality is that's not fucking true at
Reality
all.
is that that's not reality.
It's not reality.
That's that's messed up reality, but I think it's still happening today.
Mm,
It is. Say you had 2 children and one was overweight and one was skinny, uh, you know, people it's just that's that's how society that's how we were raised, like, it's just that's the way it is.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how else to
It's really
yeah.
crazy, but like,
It's a very it's I wanna find this quote. It's a very, very sad, sad thing.
yeah,
Um,
that is crazy though. Um,
yeah, I'm just trying to find
Someone else
what I read.
said while you're
Yeah.
doing that, when your mom makes a comment about what you're eating, how do you respond? I think it's like the bottom line is moms should not comment about what their children are eating. And if you
Mhm.
ever commented about what I was eating, I would be like, I don't even know. Like at this point, I'm like, you wouldn't. Like, because, and I think if your
Mhm.
mom does comment about something you're eating, you have to be like, you do not have the right to comment about something that I'm eating, and this affects me in this way.
Today, mothers must contend with messaging in the media that not only is thinness equated to goodness, but
Mm,
children are equated with good parenting, said Jessica Wilson, a dietitian of the author of It's Always Been Ours, Rewriting the Story of Black Women's Bodies. I
mm.
don't know, whatever. I had just gotten this thing
Yeah,
about
yeah.
I just thought it was interesting
Mhm.
that, the messaging that thinness equated with goodness and, that thin children are equated with good parenting.
Mm.
It's interesting, right? That
It is. It's
that's
crazy. But
fact.
I know that because when I read things, when I read articles, it's all about saying that like thin equals morally good, fat equals morally bad, which is like
Right,
obviously so false
right,
because of so
right.
many reasons. Um okay, another question. Someone said the fine line between teaching children to eat healthy and like going into like the eating disordered eating category.
Right,
I think
right.
personally, it's all about adding and not subtracting. So it's like
Mhm,
teaching
mhm.
kids, ooh, like, let me show you these amazing fruits that we love. Let me make this
Right.
amazing like salad for you on the side of your mac and cheese. So it's like we're
Mhm.
not
I love
saying don't eat the mac and cheese. We're saying let's add this
right,
amazing side salad. Feel the crunch. What dressing would you
right,
like? Like
right,
introducing more veggies instead of saying just less carbs. It's like, "Oh,
right.
let's just have more
Exactly. I
veggies."
love it. Right. Have your pasta,
Right.
but let's have some veggies with your pasta.
Yes.
I love it.
Let's have some
Right.
broccoli on the side, and you know what's great? Like, I just learned recently from going to a nutritionist, they kind of disarmed some of that diet culture stuff that I still had in me. Like, if you have a toddler
Mm.
and they're not eating their broccoli, you can put a little, like, cheddar cheese on the broccoli, and they'll eat it more, and they're still gonna get all
Right.
the nutrition from the broccoli, and the cheese has
So smart.
nutrients too. Um
Right, right.
So
So
there's nothing
smart.
wrong with it. It's
Love
like
it.
we get
Right.
things in our head, like certain foods are bad and good. And it's like, it's not a black or white statement at all. It's like,
Right,
we
right.
can
If we
have,
start off talking Yeah, if we start off talking to our kids at a young age the way what you're saying,
Mm,
it will be much better.
yeah, this is a good question. This is the last question. As a mom, if you see your daughter, this is going to be hard, like whatever, but
Mhm.
as a mom, if you see your daughter is getting big, gaining weight, how would you approach the situation? Now knowing what you
Well,
know.
I would not approach it and say, "You need a diet
Mm,
and you need to go work out." I wouldn't approach it like that at all, and I would approach it in making her feel beautiful and happy with who she is at that now.
mm,
I wouldn't approach it coming at it as going on a diet.
right.
I would just you can s if your daughter was compl I was trying to explain that to somebody the other day whose child was complaining to them, and I was like, "You need to approach your child and say, 'I love you, you're beautiful the way you are,' and just be who you are."
Yes.
Like, why does it have to be about going on a diet? Why
Mhm.
can't we just be happy with who we are? And she kept coming back to me and saying, "But my daughter's gonna say, but I need to lose weight. What do I say now?" And I say, "You say, 'No, you don't. You're
Right.
beautiful the way you are. This is not a weight issue.'"
Right.
So, not.
I think that's a huge part
Now
of the
it's
equation. And the other part is like if a child is um gaining weight to a point where if there are health problems, like underlying health problems going on, I think something really amazing to
yes.
do is
Right,
encouraging
right.
gentle movement. Like, let's walk our dog.
Uh,
Let's walk the dog around the court and like have a great time. Let's
right,
learn how to play
right,
pickleball together. Not
right,
forcing them
right,
to do something that feels like a chore or like movement. Just do
right,
it like a
right.
gentle
They're
movement.
not gonna wanna do it.
Right.
Right,
Or
right.
what I said
Or you
before, where
can
it's
talk
like
about
if they're having the mac and cheese at dinner, adding that salad in, um, or
right, add
encouraging
some more
more cups
veggies.
of water, and maybe we'll add like
Right,
let's add some fruit into the water so that if they're drinking soda, an
right,
alternative could be like some fruit,
right,
like some strawberry, like some delicious
right,
water that tastes so yummy.
right, right,
It's like there are
right.
so many other
Come
things you
at
can
it
do.
right. Come at it in a different way than making it like a diet.
Right.
Don't come at it like you need to go on a diet and you need to lose weight.
Right.
Like, I've just learned from you, never, never say that to your child.
And even
It's
if you're in your
wrong.
20s, like I feel like even with me nowadays, if I feel bad about myself, I don't come at it from like, you need to stop doing this. It's like, let's take an extra walk. Let's like try to cook dinner one more night a week. Like gentle
Mhm,
things that you can do that will
mhm,
empower you and not make you feel like you're
mhm,
starving or it's a struggle. Like it should
right,
never feel like a struggle. Like this is your life. Like you only have one life. Um
right.
So I think it's super important to make sure that like you always feel comfortable in your situation. And um and again, like those open conversations are a big part of that as well.
Mhm, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I absolutely loved this conversation. This was probably I think this was my favorite conversation we've ever had on the pod
Aw, yeah,
because it's like
it's great, and I've been dying to have it with you
mm,
because I just said to Carl, I'm learning so much with this whole Almond Mom thing. Like, I need to talk about it.
yeah.
I really needed to talk about it.
But it's
I
like
think
so
it's
cool.
I
It's so
think
cool
things
to
are gonna
see
change.
how much you've learned and how much more open you've gotten and how this is like going to help so many people who
Right.
are clearly like have gone through the same thing. Um
Mhm, mhm.
and it's cool that we can like have these open conversations and like constantly improve and grow and talk about it. So,
Right,
it's pretty
right,
cool.
and I'm still learning.
That's
No,
and
I'm still learning, and I'm still open to learning more.
touche.
I'm very open.
Cuz I'm like
So,
I tell people on
yes.
my page, I'm like I'm still learning. Like I go on my page and I'm like body this, body that, health this, blah blah blah. I'm still learning. Like I'm still sometimes I call you and I'm like, my jeans aren't fitting today. I'm feeling shitty. I don't like myself.
Right.
And it's like we all are gonna have those
Right.
days, but it's like how you choose to
Right.
improve and grow and go from there.
Right. Right. I'm not perfect,
Right.
but I'm trying really hard. I'm
Period.
really trying hard and to learn. So
Period. We're
that's
not
all.
perfect,
If
but
people
we're
are just
trying.
willing to learn, just open your mind
Mhm.
and just learn about what's going on in
Yeah.
our world.
That's all we can ask you to
So.
do. Okay. Well, if you liked this episode, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Okay Stop Whining. Follow us both on Instagram at Carly_Weinstein and Pam.Weinstein.
Weinstein.
Is it just
Pam.Weinstein.
Pam
Yeah.
Pam Pam.Weinstein?
No. It is.
And
Yep.
be sure to give us a 5-star review, leave us a review, and just let us know. Send us DMs, send us emails. Let us know what you want to see for future episodes. We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.